Good morning, Year 8. I hope everybody's well. I hope you're having a great week so far. This is now lesson 7, so week 7 of home learning. We are now going on to part 2 of creating your final piece. So we're going to be finishing that today, then next week's half term, woohoo! And then we're going to start something new after half term for the last term of the school year. So first of all, I wanted to go through a little bit of a recap from the work that you submitted last lesson. So, some really imaginative work again that I have seen. This is the stage that you should be at. I love this design. It's got lots of detail in it. There's some mark making. It could have been done a little bit more carefully here, but they've not finished yet. They've got some work to do. They've really taken care on their drawing. I'm not quite sure what artist they've been inspired by, so they need to make sure they add that on underneath. And I can't see the what went well and even better if or their connect. Please make sure when you take a picture that I can see your whole page. In other words, it should look something like this one here. So again, this one's like halfway through. I can see there's some floral elements, but I'm not quite sure which artist. It's someone that does flowers, but it must be inspired by a specific artist, so you need to explain that. Again, I think someone's got the wrong end of the stick here. They've looked at 2 artists, Mondrian and Dali, but they need to now pick one. You didn't need to do this, but they now need to pick one for this lesson and do a skull inspired by one of those. So they might do it underneath, which is fine. This is a good start here. Again, I can see they've spent the whole hour really looking at the technique. And I can see that this is inspired by Andy Warhol, which is one of the examples I gave you. But again, I need to see that connect and what went well and even better for the end. But these are some lovely examples so far. These are my ultimate favourites. So excellent work from these particular students. This is exactly what I am looking for. Date, title, really clear connect here. And then a skull that is inspired by an artist again. This one has been inspired by Andy Warhol, and I can clearly see that because they've got the iconic glass bottle, and they've got obviously the words with Campbell's soup coming out. So that is fantastic, and they've also used the background to really capture this idea that Andy Warhol used really bright different colours for his pop art, which then featured faces. So that will then be continued today. I also love the nice shading they've used with the coffee stain. Don't forget, this should be a mixed media piece. You should be using different materials. Again, this one, I can tell that this one is inspired by the artist Frida Kahlo and surrealism, potentially a hint of Salvador Dali, the artist, in there as well, because he's got a melting clock. And Frida Kahlo is iconic for her flowers in the hair and her large unibrow. So that is fantastic, and again, I'm looking forward to that being finished today. This is exactly what I mean by quality takes time. Another 2 really creative outcomes so far. Love this one because of the mark making techniques. Some lovely mark making. Maybe they could add a background on this now along with the tea stain, because I'm not quite sure what artist it is. From a guess, I think it could be the artist Damien Hirst, who's one of my favourites, but it could be someone else. So I'm not quite sure. So you need to make sure that you add something in the background to represent that, or add some descriptions as well. Again, this one, not quite sure who this one is inspired by. Possibly it's got some Mondrian style eyes, but I'm not sure. You need to, again, make sure you're explaining that. Okay, so there is a connect question at the beginning. So I want you to study this image, because by studying an image, it helps us improve our own work. So study this image, and I want you to write 2 detailed sentences explaining why it is successful as a piece. So this is one of the artists we've looked at, and she's done this inspired by Vincent van Gogh. So I want you to decide what makes this successful and write it at the top of your book, or at the bottom of your book if you've already started the activity from last week. So as long as you write it somewhere, that's fine. I want you to discuss techniques, composition, and the mark making that you can see in it here, and maybe what you think of it. Give an opinion as well. Okay, so just a quick recap of the expectation today. You are going to be finishing your incredible skull. It must be influenced and inspired by an artist of your choice, and it must use mark making, it must feature a skull, and it must use different techniques and materials, i.e. the ones that we've looked at. Tea stain, coffee stain, colour pencils, mark making must be in there, and it could be ink. So I'm just going to show you mine because I finished mine now. I showed you half of it last lesson. So I did explain to you that mine was inspired by, let's just find it. It was inspired by the artist Yayoi Kusama. So I looked at her really, really bright yellows, purples, her black dots that she features in her work, and I created my own skull inspired by her work. As you can see, I've used lots of different techniques. I actually used tea stain in the background. I then used some ink. I then used the ink and water method by spreading the ink out to make it look like it had almost like a blown out technique. I then actually dragged my ink through some of my coloured pens as well, and it created this purpley effect. I used mark making to create the techniques around the outside, mark making for the patterns inside, really detailed. I used this kind of organic, again, puffed out vibe, and I looked at her iconic kind of eye style that she looks at as well. So this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for, a really, really detailed, high quality finished piece. It should be bursting with detail and be quite over the top and quite extreme. As you can see, I've used shading to highlight it and bring a background into it. I've also used one of the artist patterns to add some background. So if you've not added a background and you've nearly finished, that could be something that you do today. I don't think I've seen any work that I agree with or think is completely finished. If we go back to the examples again, some of these are nearly finished. This one's nearly finished, and these two here. If you do finish it in the time and it looks this exceptional and, you know, really, really detailed and high quality, I've got an extra task for you to do. And that task is one that I set previously, but I don't think anyone got round to doing. So I would like you to do that as just a normal task. You can do it over half term as well if you just fancy something to do. But I would like you all, hopefully, to get onto this if you finish your skull. If you don't worry, but I would like to see this because it's a nice challenge. So this is the Alexander McQueen inspired skull. As you can see, they've used different floral patterns from the artist's work. So I want you to create your own Garden of Hope floral skull. So a Garden of Hope floral skull, and you can look at these for some inspiration and create your own, because this extends your learning on mark making and it brings in this theme of natural forms and the great designer Alexander McQueen. Hopefully that is clear what you're doing today. You're finishing your skull like this. You're answering the connect question, making sure you did a what went well and even better if from before, and just continuing with that, and then designing a Garden of Hope skull. I don't mind what size. You can do it the same size on a new piece of paper, or you can do a small one, depending on what time you've got left. Hopefully that's clear for you. If you need anything, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day getting on with the task and have a fab half term. Please just make sure, final thing, that you upload your work to Show My Homework. Some people are thinking that they're uploading it, it is not saving, and then I'm receiving absolutely zero homework from you. And you're thinking it's submitted, I'm getting no homework, and I'm filling in my tracker to say how you're getting on, that I've got to do for school, and it is saying that you've just done no work. Some people, I've had nothing for several weeks. 7 weeks or 8 weeks worth of work is not there. So can you just go back, re-download it once it's uploaded and just check it is there? If you realise today that you've got no work, can you just send it to me in an email? I'm happy for you to email it to me. Don't worry about Show My Homework as long as I've got it. But you must upload it to me in some way. Otherwise, it's putting cause for concern underneath your name on my spreadsheet, which means you're going to get a call from home, and I don't want that. I don't doubt that you haven't done the work. I think most of you have. It's just uploading the picture. There might be a few issues, so just check it. Have a great week. Speak soon, guys. Bye. Take care.